Hello and welcome to Gunners Daily YouTube channel, where I'm covering all the latest Arsenal news and everything that is happening around the club. First things first, Merry Christmas everyone. I hope you're enjoying this day with your close ones, and as you can see and hear, I'm still a little sick, but it's okay, I'll recover. As you could have expected, not so many news have dropped regarding Arsenal and football in general in these past 24 hours. But still, I kept digging and I managed to find everything that is somewhat important and interesting to put in this video. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Arsenal are interested in signing Real Sociedad's winger Takefusa Kubo, according to Mundo Deportivo. The 22-year-old Japan international is enjoying a terrific campaign with the Spanish club, who reached the Champions League knockout stages, and he subsequently left Arsenal scouts impressed. The former Real Madrid prodigy, who spent 4 years with Barcelona in his youth, has a deal with Real Sociedad until 2027. And according to Mundo Deportivo, Real Sociedad put a £52 million release clause in his contract. How realistic is this? I don't know, but I've been talking for quite some time now that we desperately need to sign another right winger who will be a competition and replacement for Bukayo Saka. Because Mikel Arteta obviously doesn't count on Reece Nelson in a long term, and I'm afraid that Saka already looks tired in some games, because we use him for a full 90 minutes in basically every single match. Midfielder, striker, and right winger. If we sign these three in January, then we are serious about competing for the Premier League and the Champions League this season. That's my honest opinion. Arsenal defender Cedric Soares is attracting interest from Villarreal, according to Simon Collins. The Portuguese fullback has featured just twice this season, and the Gunners are open to selling him in January. The 32-year-old Cedric spent the second half of last term on loan at Fulham and is on contract which expires next summer. Cedric joined Arsenal from Southampton in 2020 and has made 63 appearances in all competitions for the club, scoring 2 goals and providing 5 assists. Look, it's going to be a sad day when Cedric leaves, but that's life. But all jokes aside, Stuart McFarlane will probably have a field day when he leaves. Former Arsenal player Theo Walcott claims that Toney reminds him of ex-Gunners colleague Olivier Giroud. Speaking as a pundit after Arsenal's game versus Liverpool, this is what Walcott said. "I just feel like Mikel will deep down know what he needs, but we don't want to dwell on it." When asked about Toney's potential transfer to Arsenal in January, Walcott said, "I would be cautious of that because he hasn't played. He's a forward that is similar to Olivier Giroud, which Arsenal used to have, which I was a big fan of. They are slightly missing something, but defensively they have been solid and have won titles with their defense alone. I just feel like they were better than last season." As we all know, Toney is still rumored to be Mikel Arteta's #1 transfer target for January, but Brentford's technical director Lee Dykes has already said that whoever will be interested in signing the striker this winter will need to pay a hefty sum. Ian Wright has singled out Arsenal duo Alexander Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus after the Gunners draw against Liverpool at Anfield. Wright told Premier League Productions, "The thing is, firstly, you cannot give Trent Alexander-Arnold that much space. This is a danger man. Get in his face. Try and deny him the ball in the first place. Let them pass it to someone else. Once you get into this situation, he wants to come inside. And Zinchenko knows this, but not many people can stop him. You've got to do a lot more. You cannot let him get inside that easy. It's margins. It's the margins our manager always speaks about in terms of winning games. You cannot give Salah that time. You cannot give Trent that time. Someone should have been closer to Trent. Once that ball goes over to Salah, someone should have been across to make sure he cannot cut inside. That's why we have drawn that game. We could not stop that happening." By the way, I made a video not long ago about Alexander Zinchenko and how he's been a big defensive liability for Arsenal this season, so feel free to check it out. I'll leave the link in the comments. According to The Athletic, Arsenal have identified 3 other targets if they miss out on Toney. According to the report, Toney is part of a 4-man shortlist, which also includes Napoli's Victor Osimhen, Brighton's Evan Ferguson, and RB Leipzig's Benjamin Šeško. It is hard to believe that other than Toney, any of the other players that are mentioned could leave their clubs mid-season. Although there have been some mumblings and rumors lately that Benjamin Šeško would be willing to leave Leipzig in January due to the lack of playing time, and potentially join some Premier League side. But still, we don't have any concrete info that would say that any of these players would definitely be joining Arsenal in the winter, so let's just wait and see, because we are now just 1 week away from the January transfer window. Look, here's an interesting question. If you could choose one player for Arsenal to sign this winter between Ivan Toney, Evan Ferguson, Victor Osimhen and Benjamin Šeško, who would you choose? Write down in the comments. Gary Neville said that he believes that Gabriel Jesus is a mix of Carlos Tevez and Wayne Rooney, but still doubts he is good enough to be Arsenal's main striker. Speaking on his podcast, Neville said, I found myself talking at the end of many Arsenal games this season now about whether Nketiah and Jesus are number 1 and 2 strikers in Premier League title winning sides, or whether they're actually more 2 and 3 strikers and they need that number 1. I actually love Jesus. I really love him. Honestly, I think he's a brilliant player. I love to play with him. He's got a bit of Rooney in him, he's got a bit of Tevez in him. He's got sort of everything. But he hasn't got that sort of instinct in front of goal, and sometimes he's everywhere you don't want him to be. Gabriel Jesus made 13 appearances in the Premier League for Arsenal so far this season, scoring 3 goals and providing 1 assist. Bear in mind, it's also worth mentioning, Jesus was out with an injury for almost 2 months and he missed 11 games through that period. And finally, here are some interesting events that happened throughout the history of Arsenal on this day. In 1886, Royal Arsenal was formed in the Royal Oak Public House in Woolwich. In 1893, Arsenal played the first Christmas Day League game. It ended Woolwich Arsenal 4, Burslem Port Vale 0, in front of 10,000 fans, equaling the previous highest crowd achieved at the club's very first league game. And on this day in 1925, Arsenal played their first Christmas Day game at Highbury Stadium, following the purchase of the ground, and they beat Notts County 3-0. And that is it for today's video. So Gunners, once again, for all of you who are celebrating, Merry Christmas and enjoy the rest of this day. And I'll see you again tomorrow with another interesting video. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Peace.